Good day, everyone. You are now here in the most good day, everyone. You are now here in the most spectacular virtual exhibit in the world. Welcome to the House of Changes, where you can find educational yet entertaining artifacts that will surely change and leave you an undeniably informative information. Go inside of whichever you like, and you will discover extraordinary. You are now at the most anticipated President's Hall. In this room, you will definitely know the first up to 16th president who ruled the Philippines. You will also going to know their contribution in our country and in the field of politics. You want to know more? Click each of the frame. These are the first four presidents of the Philippines and their legacy. Aside from what is written, I will give you more of their contributions. At 28, Emilio Aguinaldo led the Philippines in the Spanish-Philippine War and the American-Philippine War. Manuel Quezon is the first president under the Commonwealth and initiated women's suffrage in the Philippines during the Commonwealth. Jose P. Laurel and with his family established the Lyceum of the Philippines, and since the early 1960s, Laurel considered a legitimate president of the Philippines. And Sergio Osmeña became president at 65, making him the oldest person to hold office and the first Visayan to become president. The next four presidents has contributed so much in our country, whether in our perspective or tangible. Manuel Rojas was inaugurated as the first president of the new republic after World War II, while Elpidio Quirino named Quezon City as the capital of the Philippines in 1948. Ramon Magsaysay is the first president sworn into office wearing barong Tagalog during inauguration, and his presidency referred to as the Philippines' golden years for its lack of corruption. And lastly, Carlos P. Garcia was the first president to have his remains buried at the libingan ng mga bayani. Some of these four presidents became the most controversial president of the Philippines. You wanna know why? Diosdado Macapagal placed the Philippine peso on the currency exchange market and declared June 12, 1898 to be Philippines Independence Day, while Ferdinand Marcos was first president to win his second term and declared martial law on September 22, 1972. In his time, by 1986, the Philippines was one of the most in-depth countries in Asia. Marcos also built more schools, roads, bridges, hospitals, and other infrastructure than all former presidents combined. Cory Aquino was the first woman to be president of the Philippines or any Asian country. She also initiated charitable and social activities helping the poor and the needy. And during the time of Fidel Ramos, Philippine Stock Exchange became an international favorite. And to wrap it up, these are the last four presidents who ruled the Philippines and their contribution. Joseph Estrada was cited as one of the three outstanding senators in 1989. He also became a mayor in the country's capital. Gloria Macapagal Arroyo was the first and only female vice president of the Philippines so far. She was also a former economics professor at the Ateneo de Manila University, where President Benigno Aquino III was one of her students. Benigno Aquino III suspended allowances and bonuses to government-owned and controlled corporations and government financial institution board members. And lastly, our current president, Rodrigo Duterte, proposed the Build, Build, Build. He also initiated the rehabilitation of Boracay. Democracy is one of the most important things that we are experiencing right now. Through democracy, we as a citizen are able to voice out our opinions, get a chance to choose of whatever we want, and also be able to practice our basic rights. In this chamber, you will going to know the difference between the direct and the indirect democracy. How direct democracy work? In this form of government, every law, policy, or bill is passed only when voted on by all the citizens of the country. Here, all the people of the government come together, raises issues, enter into discussions to come up with a decision which is agreeable to all. So, the citizens of the country have a direct say in the formulating laws and the affairs that influence them. The direct democracy in Athens. Greek democracy created at Athens was direct, rather than representative. Any adult male citizen over the age of 20 could take part. It was a duty to do so. The officials of the democracy were in part elected by the assembly and in large part chosen by lottery in a process called sortition. It is a fact that change is the only thing that are constant, and we have to deal with it. Do you agree? You now reach the headquarters of globalization. In this room, you will discover how globalization started and also the effect of it to our world. I know you're getting excited. Click each of the frame for viewing. All about indirect democracy. Indirect democracy or the representative democracy is when citizens elect representatives to make laws for them. This is what most modern countries have today. In many representative democracies, such as USA, Canada, India, and etc., representatives are chosen in elections. People power as an indirect democracy. The historic EDSA People Power Revolution has become one of the most popular practice or exercise of the indirect or the representative democracy because people were able to elect Corazon Aquino, wife of the late Benigno Aquino Jr., through election. This became memorable because people were able to unite just to kick out former President Ferdinand Marcos, who was a dictator during the martial law. The history of globalization. Globalization means the speed up of movements and exchanges of human beings, goods and services, capital, technologies, or cultural practices all over the planet. This started during the first century BC when Silk Road became the main road for exchanging goods and services. It became the trade route between China and other countries. And during that time, they did not know that globalization is actually happening. OFWs as part of the globalization. Globalization made it possible for Filipinos to learn new words and develop understanding with regards to language. The, the impact of globalization on employment. Globalization can benefit a country's economy in many ways. Increases economic growth by increasing the international exchange of goods, technological advances, and information. Globalization increases economic development for any country participating in the global economy. Have you ever imagined how law is being created? Who approves and evaluates it? Have you ever questioned yourself? Can I be a president, a judge, or even a senator? Welcome to the government booth. All of the questions that rent in your mind will be ready to answer. You just have to click each of the frames and information will be ready to view. The power that the executive branch of government holds. The power to implement laws, administrative power and control over the agencies of the government, the power to appoint government officials, the power to commute sentence, grant pardon, reprieve and amnesty, the power to declare martial law, the power to suspend the privilege of writ of habeas corpus, the power to veto a law, the power of supervision and control over the local government, and the power to conduct treaty and international agreement with other states. These are the power of the legislative branch of government, the power to enact laws, police power, power of eminent domain, power of taxation, the power to choose who shall become president in case of tie, the power to impose death penalty, the power to act a constituent assembly, the power to declare the existence of war, the power to confirm the appointments of government officials, the power to ratify treaty, the power to conduct investigation in aid of legislation, the power of the judiciary branch of government, the power to interpret laws, the power of judicial review, adjudicatory powers, assign temporarily judges of lower courts to other stations as public interest may require, order the change of venue or place of trial to avoid a miscarriage of justice, appoints all officials and employees of the judiciary in accordance with the civil service law.